It happened over dinner, a quiet evening at a restaurant, a child, his father, his stepmother. Nothing out of the ordinary, until it was. That was the night my 9-year-old son had his first taste of alcohol. He was curious, they said. Just a sip, they said. It's not a big deal. Except it was a big deal, because his father is an alcoholic. Because he just got out of rehab less than a month ago. Because that harmless sip came from a cocktail called a Midori Sour, a sweet neon green drink that tastes more like candy than consequence. Because my son liked it, and because I wasn't there. I found out about it only after the fact. They told me casually, like it was funny, like I was being ridiculous for reacting the way I did. But I wasn't laughing, because I know where this road leads. I've lived it. I'm 32, a mother, a woman who has spent the last decade navigating the wreckage of someone else's addiction. I've cleaned up messes, comforted a child's confusion, and fought to build a safe world in the shadow of chaos. I've spent countless nights educating my son about what alcohol really is. Not the party trick, not the sparkling beverage, but the destroyer that hollowed out his father. I taught him that it's not for kids, that it's dangerous in his family, that it runs in our blood like a quiet predator, waiting for the right moment. And now, here we were. I wasn't even upset at first. I was numb. Then the fury came in waves, because it wasn't just that it happened. It was who made the call. It wasn't the father. He said no. It was the stepmother. She's 23, barely old enough to drink herself, barely a decade older than my son. She said her parents used to let her sneak sips, that it was normal, that I was being uptight, that I was making it a big deal. But that's just it. She did make it a big deal, because she made a parenting decision that wasn't hers to make, because she overruled both biological parents, because she dismissed a boundary that should have been ironclad, and because she gave a child, my child, a taste of something he wasn't ready for, from a man who still wasn't sober. I tried to explain it to them. I tried to stay calm. I told them this wasn't about being puritanical. I told them I understood the logic of demystifying alcohol. I'm not naive. I know kids get curious. I want to give my son the tools to handle that curiosity. But this wasn't education. This wasn't responsible exposure. This was betrayal. And maybe that's the part that hurts the most. That she didn't pause. That she didn't ask. That she didn't care. Not about what I would have said. Not about the fact that his father said no. Not about the context. About our family's long, aching history with addiction. Not about how hard I've worked to create a foundation of trust and safety and truth. She just wanted to be the cool one, the fun one, the one who didn't say no. And I'm left wondering what other lines she'll cross in the name of being liked. Will she let him watch things he shouldn't? Will she say yes to things she knows I'd never approve of? Will she let him ride in a car with his father after a few drinks? Because now I have to ask those questions. Because now I don't know where her judgment begins and ends. And the father, my son's father, the man I once trusted to co-parent with me, said no in the moment, but later defended her. Said it was harmless. Said I was being dramatic. Dramatic. As if a recovering alcoholic drinking in front of his 9-year-old child wasn't already a red flag. As if giving that same child a cocktail to taste isn't crossing a line. As if liking the taste isn't a moment that should give all of us pause. And maybe that's what they don't understand. This wasn't just a sip. It was an opening. It was the first moment My son connected alcohol with sweetness, with fun, with approval. And that first moment matters. I remember mine. I remember being a teenager, watching my uncle drink every night. I remember the way the bottle clinked against the glass, the way his laugh slurred into silence. I remember the night he didn't come home. I remember the funeral. I remember thinking, this will never be me. But addiction doesn't care about your promises. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It begins with curiosity, then habit, then craving. And I will do everything in my power to make sure my son never walks that road. I know I can't control everything. I know I can't keep him in a bubble, but I can hold the line. I can teach him that boundaries matter, that choices matter, that saying no is an act of love, not control. So I confronted them. I told them that this wasn't acceptable, that there would be no more surprises like this, that if they want to make decisions about my son's development, they will do so with me, not instead of me. They rolled their eyes. They told me I was overreacting, that I was too sensitive. But I don't think I am. I think I'm the only one in the room who remembers what this actually is. It's not about one drink. It's about legacy. It's about what we pass on when we stop paying attention. It's about what we normalize. It's about what we allow, just once, just a sip, just this time, until it becomes something else. And I think about my son, sitting at that restaurant table, looking up at his father, then his stepmother, then the drink. And I wonder what that moment taught him. That rules are negotiable, that no doesn't mean no, that grown-ups sometimes say one thing and do another, that even if a parent says no, someone else might say yes, and that's okay. I don't want him to grow up afraid of alcohol. I want him to grow up informed, but information comes with context, and context was completely missing that night. He wasn't taught. He was tempted, and that makes me angry, because the people who should have known better didn't. So, am I the asshole for getting angry, for holding my ground, for refusing to treat this as just a sip? Or am I just a mother trying to protect her son in a world where so many people are too quick to laugh off the things that break us? Because I don't find it funny. I find it frightening. And I'm not going to apologize for caring more about my son's future than someone else's convenience. So you tell me, am I the problem here? Or am I the only one still paying attention? Wow, this story hits harder than most, because it's not really about alcohol. It's about trust, about boundaries, about the invisible weight of generational trauma. This wasn't a mother throwing a tantrum over a sip. It was a woman who has seen what addiction does, who carries the weight of that history every time she tucks her son into bed. And who knows, deep down, that one harmless moment can echo for years. So often, we dismiss parents' fears as paranoia. We tell them to lighten up, to relax, to stop making everything such a big deal. But sometimes, it is a big deal, especially when it comes from someone who wasn't supposed to say yes, especially when it happens after a father says no, especially when the person who said yes has barely lived long enough to understand the consequences herself. This mom didn't just lose control of a situation, she lost a piece of trust, and that loss runs deep. So if you're listening to this and thinking about your own childhood, your own choices, maybe ask yourself, when does just a sip become the start of something else? And when someone says no, do we respect that boundary? Or do we decide that we know better? Let us know in the comments. Because this story isn't just about one family, it's about all of us and the choices we make when no one's looking.